Hey, what's up, you guys? This is D back again with MKD58 Media. Got another movie review for you guys, and this particular review is going to be for the 1979 film, sci-fi film, Aliens. Starring Tom Skerritt and Sigourney Weaver. Now, this is just a iconic classic film, in the same vein as, you know, Terminator and Predator and some of those franchises, where it's just, if you're into sci-fi movies at all, you know about these films. Alien, we watched it last night actually, and I enjoyed it a lot. It's a great film. It shows its age in terms of some of the special effects, particularly the shots of the spaceship. I think it's called Nostradamus or something like that. The spaceship moving through space. There's certain shots where you can pretty much tell, at least if you're into movies and pay attention to how things are made, you can tell that it's, you know, a miniature model, kind of, you know, on a sound stage and all of that type of stuff. But for me, that doesn't matter. I enjoy practical effects, even if you can tell what they did to produce them. It doesn't take me out of the movie at all. I think that the spaceship looked good. The shots of the ship moving through space looked good to me. Like I said, you could tell it was older, but it still looked good. So that's not really a negative. It's just an observation. Some more special effects observations. The alien, I think it's called a xenomorph. Xenomorph is the real name of the alien, but I'll just call it the alien for purposes of this review. The alien, it's still when I look at it, it's a really, really great design. And actually the design of the alien from the sternum up it's even more impressive of a creature design than I remember giving it credit for in the past. Like, I've always kind of overlooked Alien, like as far as creature design. Like, I was always a predator guy, and still am a predator guy, talking about the character. When I say I'm a predator guy, talking about the character, the predator, the alien predator or whatever. But yeah, after watching Alien last night, I paid more attention to the creature, and yeah, that's a really good looking alien creature, at least from the sternum up. And with I like the hands on the creature, but there's just, here's what I want to say, because I want to compare the Predator, particularly Predator from Predator 1 and 2, to the alien that I saw in the first Alien movie. And here's just a backstory. The guy that wears the alien suit for the first Alien, he's 6'10". And the guy that wore the Predator suit in the original Predator, that guy was like 7'10" or something like that. He was like a 7'10" black dude that happened to be a ballerina. So, which when I heard about that, I'm like, oh, well, that explains why Predator moved the way he moved. Like, he moved so kind of gracefully. And the interesting thing about it was Predator, even though it's a guy in a suit, when I watched that movie, or the first two movies, I never think about that. Like, it never looks like a guy in a suit. It looks like a creature. It looks like the Predator. And I think a lot of that has to do with not only the design, but actually the way the performer moved and performed as a character. Now, connecting that to Alien, the first one, there's a lot of shots where, or at least a few shots, where it looks like a guy in a suit, and not in a good way. And one particular shot was when Tom Skerritt's character is kind of in the ventilation systems, and the one girl with the short blonde hair, I can't think of her name, but she's on the radio talking to him, trying to tell him where the alien is in relation to his position. And then the alien, they lose track of where the alien is, and then the alien starts coming for Tom Skerritt's character really fast, and then they're like, oh, he's on his way to you. And so the guy, moves down, and then he's kind of in darkness, and then he shines his flashlight over to the left, and the alien, the xenomorph, is right there. And the xenomorph kind of like reaches out, and the way it reaches out, it just looks too much like a guy in a suit for me. But then, I think about it a little bit, and I'm like, well, I don't know what the fucking alien looks like. Maybe, an alien can look like that, but just mentally, it looked like a guy in a suit, except for the head and sternum part. So, but the movie was well made, and so some of that type of stuff, I'm kind of like, okay, I can forgive that a little bit. I mean, everybody loves Godzilla, and that always looks like a guy in a suit, so I forgive that a little bit. And then another shot where it looked blatantly like kind of like a guy in a suit or just goofy was when Ripley shoots this, shoots the spear to like the harpoon type thing to knock the xenomorph out the pod, and he's kind of hanging out, dangling by the spear rope or whatever, and you can kind of see him dangling outside the ship, and it looks like a doll, kind of just, but again, it's 1979, they're using practical effects, they got to do it how they can do it, so that is kind of forgivable, but it is really noticeable, especially if you want to compare Predator 1 to Alien 1. So, but just okay, so more about the actual story of Alien. Okay, so this ship, it's basically like a cargo type ship. It's out in space. I'm not quite clear on what the time frame is, like whether this was like, supposed to be in 2020 or what time period this is supposed to be during. I'm assuming it's the future from 1979. But this cargo ship gets like a beacon from a foreign, unknown spaceship out in space, and due to laws and rules, they have to go check it out. And so they do. And one of the guys that gets out to go explore the ship and everything, they find these eggs. One of the eggs jumps on this guy's mask, gets into his suit. The guy is paralyzed, and they have to bring the guy back on the ship. And the alien, well, let's just say the alien gets free, and all hell breaks loose. I won't go into it any more than that. But I'm not gonna worry too much about spoilers, because this is an old movie. Most people know about things that happen. I mean, the infamous chest bursting scene, really well shot scene, high impact. Even when I knew it was coming, it was still effective. And I'm noticing a theme about a lot of these super classic movies is that you know about all those. A plane's coming over. Hold on. But anyways, so yeah, the chest bursting scene was just like I said. These old movies where you know what's coming, but even when it happens, it still has a good impact. I mean, they did stuff so well back in the day. At least the stuff that was good. The stuff that was good was really good. So, but yeah, the chest bursting scene was just great. I mean, when the alien burst through the chest, and then really the most kind of craziest part of the chest bursting scene to me was when the thing ran off. Like it just looked kind of like crazy how it zips off, and you see its tail kind of flapping and all that shit. And I read some backstory on how they did that scene. I won't talk about all that, you can look it up yourself, but it's just kind of interesting how they pull off some of those old school practical effects. All the performances were great. Sigourney Weaver did her thing. She was in the same vein as Linda Hamilton in the Terminator series and things. She was just, a badass woman who kind of in the beginning is reluctant. Like she from the beginning of the movie, she doesn't set out to be a badass, but she kind of has to become a badass, similar to Linda Hamilton. And, Linda Hamilton, that's her name. That's the Terminator girl name, ain't it? Linda Hamilton. I'm pretty sure that's her name. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on that. I'm pretty sure that's her name, Linda Hamilton. Yeah, so similar to Linda Hamilton's characters, she kind of had to become a badass to deal with her unfortunate circumstance. Favorite parts of the movie. Well, I talked about the chest bursting scene. That was an intense part. I liked that part. When the alien came, I can't think of the guy that got killed, but it was the guy, he was looking for the cat, and the cat's hissing at him. The guy thinks the cat is hissing at him, but he's hissing at the xenomorph is descending from the ceiling behind him and then, you know, kill. I thought that was a cool looking shot to see him come down from behind him or whatever. That was a cool moment. The moment with, I think his name is Ash, when they found out, once again, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. When they found out Ash is an android, that scene really threw me for a loop because I didn't know that. During the whole movie, I thought this was a human scientist. And then when he got his head knocked, I was like, oh shit. And it was crazy that when he got his head knocked off, I immediately thought, oh, this dude is a robot. Because the way he got his head knocked off, I'm like, they've been doing the special effects really good. That does not look like a human body losing its head the way they did that, just as far as how the guts looked and all that type of shit. So I'm like, okay, so he's a robot. Even though it was a shocking moment, the minute it happened, before they even said it, I immediately knew, oh, he's a fucking robot. But crazy scene. Also, the shot when they're talking to Ash after they knock his head off and realize he's an android, but he still has some function and they're trying to communicate with him, and his head is like laying on a table. They originally made a model of that actor's head to use in that scene, but the model, the materials used shrunk and didn't form right. So what they did is they had the real actor stick his head through a hole in the table, and then that's how you got the effect of Ash's head, the android head, laying on a table. And the way the actor performed his lines and stuff, it was very robotic. So it was a very convincing way to do that, which, matter of fact, it gives me some ideas on some ways I can pull off some practical effects scenes when I try to do some productions and stuff down the line. So interesting stuff. What else can I say about the movie? Really enjoyed the design of the xenomorph's spaceship or planet, or their spaceship or whatever. It was really like, you know, I was watching the movie, I was like, this looks really like different than a lot of alien worlds and spaceships that I've seen in cinema, like in recent years. There's something very unique about the atmosphere, the environments in the ships, and the creature in the first Alien. You know, it's very, I understand why all the hype and kind of the love surrounding that film, because there is something very unique about it, and still stands the test of time. Now, here's what I want to say in terms of just comparing it to other movies. I think overall, I gotta say the first Predator, I like the first Predator better than Alien. The first Predator, I've talked a lot about movies that don't have any flaws, and the first Predator is a film that to me doesn't have any flaws. Like, as far as if you like those kind of, I mean, if you don't like big loud action movies and creatures and gore and all that stuff, well then the Predator has flaws. The first Predator has flaws then, if you don't like that stuff. But if you're into that stuff, first Predator is kind of a flawless film. And one of the reasons why I give it an edge over Alien is, I already talked about it. The creature in Predator is just perfect, doesn't come off fake, doesn't come off phony, doesn't come off like a guy in a suit, even though it is a suit. There's no point in the first Predator where I feel like I'm watching a guy in a suit, whereas there are at least 2 points in Alien where I'm like, oh, that's a gentleman in a suit. So yeah, I give, and just that first Predator was good. That first Predator is good. I used to have it on DVD. I don't know what happened to it. I gotta get another copy of that because I feel like watching that right now that I talk about it. But yeah, so I gotta check out Aliens, and I gotta check out Aliens 3. From what I hear, Aliens 3 is the worst out of that trio. But I hear Aliens is really good, so I'll have to check that out. Some other comparisons to make. If I was going to compare the first Alien movie to, say, the first Terminator, gotta say the first Terminator is probably better in my opinion. That first Terminator is really good. I don't know what I'd give the first Aliens an edge over. I gotta think about, because there's a lot of movies and genres that Alien can be compared to, in a lot of genres it can fit into, because it's sci-fi, but it's also horror. And I even saw on like the IMDb or the Wikipedia or something, they even had it described as fantasy, which I thought was interesting. I'm like, that shit's more like a nightmare than a fantasy. But yeah, so I'll have to think about that. But on its own merits, on its own rights, it's you can always tell when I'm recording like in a vulnerable environment, because I definitely keep my head on a swivel. But anyways, so on its own merits, Alien 1979 is a great film, great atmosphere, great set design, good performances by the main players, super cool character, even though it's goofy in spots. I like what they were trying to do. Sigourney Weaver did her thing, a great heroine. What else can I say? I mean, I like the music. The score was great. Ridley Scott directed this film. I don't know if I mentioned that. Yeah, just a great film. If I was going to give it a grade, I'm going to just go straight A. Right, I feel good about that. Once again, I've been doing these reviews and still haven't buttoned down what my rating system is. By the next review, I will have some sort of rating system, whether it's 1 through 5 or 5 stars or thumbs or percentages or something. I'm gonna find some sort of a rating system. Popcorn kernels, 2.5 popcorn kernels. You know, it's like I'm gonna try to find some way to measure, consistent way to measure these films. But if I'm going to give a letter grade, I give Alien 1979 straight up A. Passing grade, great film. Should definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. Okay, guys, hopefully this one was a little bit more, this review was a little shorter and a little more concise than some of the past ones that I've done, because I have a habit of rambling and all that type of shit, and I do apologize for that. I'm going to try to get better at that stuff and get it more buttoned down, okay? But in the meantime, thanks a lot for watching, you guys. I got more reviews coming. I actually, the night before last, we watched Jaws. So I actually want to talk about Jaws a little bit as well. But since Alien was the most recent one that we watched, I figured I'd go ahead and touch on that a little bit. So I do got more stuff coming. Thanks a lot again for watching. This is D, MKD58 Media, signing off. Take care.